June 11, 2008. Right?
2008, 6 months after I leave him with my 2 children.
Okay, so now, where are the children now?
The children are with him because once I came back to Chicago, a week after I had left with my children, once I came back without them, he decides to charge me with kidnapping the children. He goes to court and he's granted temporary possession of the children.
Now, how was he able to charge you with kidnapping?
Because I removed the children from the state without getting the judge's approval, which there's nothing specific in my court papers that says I could not do that.
Did he ever say, did the judge ever say you could not do it?
No.
Okay. So what are they saying as far as you being able to have visitation rights or any custody or anything?
I was supposed to start out with supervised visits for 2 hours per week with my 2 children who I had previously raised on my own being a housewife. Stephen was at fundraisers. He was taking his bosses to different events. Commissioner Maldonado and Todd Stroger. He was not at home with me. I homeschooled my children. I stayed home with them, raised them, took them to church, read to them. My daughter is in a gifted school right now. So I raised them, I gave the bags, I fed them. They don't eat microwave food. I cook for them. My neighbors all know that. So everybody, their teachers, the pediatrician, my pastor, everybody can testify as to my skills as a mother, but this man has my children and I'm considered a flight risk. So I'm supposed to see my children 2 hours a week on supervised visits. So he stopped showing up for those, or he would play games, where are you all going, or he would follow me. So I told the judge that was not working and I needed to be able to see my children. They needed to be able to spend the night. The judge says, well, you have nowhere to stay. I says, okay, well then let me go back to my house. No, you all can't be together because there's too much animosity. I said, there's no animosity on my part. That's on him. He's the one with the hateful messages, with the hateful text messages, with the hateful voice messages.
But why would they not allow you alimony?
My attorney never requested alimony before Judge Arce.
Did she ever give you a reason why she was not requesting alimony?
No, she lied to me and told me that's what she was going to do. I didn't even realize that she was not requesting alimony until I read this letter.
Now, may I ask you a pretty personal question?
Sure.
What brought about your the demise of your marriage?
Number one, I was disobedient, if I may go there, and marrying a Muslim when I am wholeheartedly of the belief that Jesus died for my sins and he is the Son of God, and so we were not evenly yoked. However, this man was good to me and he treated me like he understood what how a husband should treat a wife, and that lasted for a long time. My husband has a high school diploma. He barely got that from Clemente, and I'm not trying to knock him. I'm just going off of what's there in the records.
But he's worked himself up.
He has done a lot in getting himself from where he was to where he is now. However, at a certain point, we used my education. The position that he has now, he called me in a panic after the interview saying they're requiring a college degree and I don't have one. What am I going to do? I said, stop tripping. Go back in there and tell them you got it. You'll bring a copy later. They're not going to ask you for any transcripts. They're not even going to follow up with this. This is the county. So I told him my education is your education. So I actually have emails in which Stephen would go to work, find out what his assignments were, email me those assignments. I would do those and then email those back to him. And I have those.
So you're saying that basically Steve Shavers, who is the chief of staff,
a special assistant.
I mean special assistant to Todd Stroger, doesn't really have a college degree.
He does not.
So they never verified, they never asked for any credentials or anything. They just,
did not.
Okay. And he was emailing the assignments to you, and
Yes.
you were completing the assignments.
Yes, or he would bring them home. I recall one study that they put together for the integration of all the information systems of all the courts and police stations and all the little municipal law enforcement agencies to connect all the information so that they would stop letting out the wrong person or mixing up fingerprints or letting somebody out before they found out there was another warrant from downstate. And he brought this study home and said he had to have a report ready. And I have a 2.5-year-old and a newborn baby, and I'm nursing my baby and taking care of our house. And you want me to do a report and have it ready at 6 in the morning? But I did it because we were a team.
And you loved him.
And I loved him, and I still do.
Okay, there ain't nothing wrong with that. That's your job, to love your husband.
And to be his helpmate.
But he's supposed to love you and be your helpmate as well.
Somewhere along the line, something happened where his ego, the power, I really don't understand right now to this day, but he just began to switch his personality and become very egotistical towards people. And I would often.
So, do you have an attorney now?
I do not. After I realized that Rhea was advocating more for Steve than for me and my children, I finally fired her. And then I scraped together, my father and I scraped together some money, and we hired another attorney, Rod Wimberly, who said, oh, well, he stopped paying the mortgage on the house and allowed the house to go into foreclosure to force you out of there. And we're going to sue him for dissipation of marital assets, and we're going to get your children back, and we're going to make sure he pays this and pays that. And I think maybe in the beginning he did have those intentions, but he just didn't realize what he was up against. Now I will say this, I did explain to him the full extent of Stephen's political power and its reach. And I don't think he took me seriously. Because what ultimately happened is, as things began to really get worse and worse and worse and turn into some sort of nightmare, he said to me on the last court date of April 20th, he said they're getting away with things that are not only unethical, but they are illegal. And I'm not going to risk my entire career on your one case. I have to work out here in this courtroom. And at that point, he stopped returning my calls. And I have text messages and emails to him saying, I have called you every day, such and such. Why are you not returning my calls? Are you still my attorney? Finally, on July 14th, I did fire him. And then I did ask Judge Arce if I could represent myself. And then I did ask for unsupervised visits with my children. He did explain to me that because I was a flight risk, I would have to give background information on every person that I plan on having contact with my children, where they would be. Even though Stephen has removed my children out of daycare and won't tell me where they are, who's watching them, won't answer the phone. My father was listening on the speakerphone when I asked him to speak to my children a few days ago, and he's, what are you going to talk to them about? What are you going to say? And my father finally exploded and just said, those are her children, let her talk to them. I asked my children on the phone, do you want to stay with Dad or do you want to live with Mama? Both of them said they want to live with me. So I don't understand why they're not with me. I don't understand why I don't have unsupervised visits. Why am I even asking for visits? Why, when I'm agreeing to joint custody with him, why am I going through this?
Okay, now, what are you expecting? What do you want out of all of this?
I would like my children back, full custody and joint, full possession, where they live with me, and he has visitation with them anytime he wants to, and we make the medical decisions and the educational decisions together, because Stephen is their father. He's no longer my husband, but he's still their father, and they love him and they